Pete, what's going on, sir? Thank you for taking the time to join me tonight.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So how you been? What's going on?
Oh, good work, but we need a little bit more play in life. So
Yes, we
I'm
do.
glad to do this tonight because the hamster wheel has been ongoing for the last few months.
Yeah, that's the one thing I really like with this is getting down and talk to people like you and other folks. I enjoy it a lot. So for
Yeah.
those of you that don't know you, that don't follow your channels, your social medias, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. On YouTube, I'm Petes1800. I mean, that's original. Same on Instagram, even more original. I've been riding Goldwings for a few years. Well, since I bought my first Goldwing in 2007. But the first motorcycle I have ever rode on or been on was my brother's 1983 Honda Goldwing,
Nice.
and he still owns it.
Wow. So what kind of miles does he have on that bad boy then?
It's right now it's in the shed, so I've been thinking about it. Yeah, I should call him up and be like, do you want that thing out of your shed? Yeah, just to bring her back to life. Because that would be pretty cool. The first motorcycle I ever had to own it and rebuild it would be fun.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. So, and then I've got BMW. I had mostly Hondas. I've had Yamahas, Suzuki's. What else out there? Yamaha, Suzuki, Honda, BMW. Missing one of the Japanese bikes.
Kawasaki?
That's the one. Yeah, I had a Ninja at one point, but briefly.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, it was a toy, and it did last long. And then my big super sport back in the day was my 88 VFR 1000.
Ooh.
That one almost killed me.
Yeah, that's a lot of bike.
Yeah, my right arm doesn't work quite as well as it used to.
Ooh. So you started riding with your brother's bike. How old were you when you started riding?
About 12 or 13.
Nice.
From where I had a moped. Like that's the first thing
that's cool.
I ever had. I had a moped, and it used to drive the cops in my small town crazy because I would ride it everywhere. This is back in the 80s, man. You could do things back then.
You can't outrun the cops though.
No. So I turn the motor off and just start pedaling it like it's a bicycle. It's like, oh man, it doesn't work.
Isn't it funny how the 80s you could do anything?
I know, right? You ride in the back of a pickup truck, it's like, whew, I surf on top of a car.
Bows and arrows. They'd call out a SWAT team at this point.
Yeah, lawn darts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. and we're both still here. So what happened?
Yeah.
How were they that dangerous?
We were very fast.
So what was your first street bike?
Oh boy, I think that would have been the GS 850 Suzuki.
Okay.
And then I had that for a while, then that went away, and then I got the Ninja very briefly. And then I moved from then I got the VFR. No, I had that last. That was the last bike because it almost killed me. Then I jumped from that to a Yamaha. And I borrowed my friend's one when we kind of went in on it together, but it was the Seika. Remember that?
No.
The Yamaha Seika 750 turbo.
Oh, no, I don't even.
It's the strangest bike in the world you ever ride. If you ever ride a bike with a turbo, it's very strange. And the Seika looked like something out of Mad Max. I mean, it just was big front end. It just looked like a cruiser with a touring thing on it. It was with a fairing. It was a weird looking bike, but you come around a corner, once that thing hit about $4,000 and that turbo boost hit, it would lift the front end up and just go like stink. And you had to hold on. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that I need a turbo on a bike. I don't think I'm there in my life.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't suggest it. Yeah. But, and then from there then I went to the VFR.
Okay.
And I crashed that 94.
Oof.
And took a hiatus after that wreck because that was my third wreck. And I got hit once, laid it down once, and just completely bought the farm. And I felt like Ricky Bobby. I'm flying through the air. This ain't good. It's just like
Yeah, when
I
you leave
land.
the bike, it's never a good sign.
No, it's like, uh-oh. And then I landed fine. I was sliding up a grassy median and I had my gear on. I was like, okay. And then I caught a tree right here on my right shoulder,
Oof.
smashed my arm. This is all mostly metal now.
Okay.
Um, it moves pretty good. And so then I took a break, and then about 2004, I guess it was about 10-year break. I got back into bikes. I had a VT Honda V twin, like an Arrow, the Shadow.
Okay.
And then I always wanted to get back on a Goldwing because I always wanted one since my brother's. And so I was like, I got to get back on this bike. And so my wife and I went to Hawaii in 2007, and we were on Kauai, and they had a motorcycle rental. And guess what they had?
Goldwing.
A Goldwing. I was like, well, why not? So we rented
Which
it
is
for
kind
the
of
day.
a weird choice for Hawaii. You wouldn't think of a Goldwing in Hawaii.
I didn't either. I was like, a Goldwing. They had a couple of Harleys, but they had a big, fully loaded nav, the nav bike, the level 4 at that time, because in the 01 to 17, they had, or 16, they had levels of bikes, like different levels.
The comfort and the audio.
Yeah, comfort, audio, nav, airbag, so they had like 4 different levels. So this was like the level 3. It didn't have the airbag, but it had the nav. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And so we rode that, and she got pretty mad at me, my wife, because the day after her birthday, I went and bought one. So she was kind of mad.
Because she wanted it, or?
Well, she was mad because she didn't go down with me. She would have chose a different color.
The old choosing the color.
Yeah, I went with the silver one, and she wanted the blue.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what kind of riding do you guys do? I assume you primarily ride with her, or at least you were then, right?
We do. We rode a lot more on the 07. She's gone from, like, we live in Florida, and when we lived in Florida, we lived in Jacksonville first, and then we've gone all the way to, on that bike, when we lived in Jacksonville, Tennessee. We went to Wingding up in South Carolina, around just the Smokies and stuff like that. And then we moved down here. I've got a good riding buddy. So me, him, and his wife, we've gone up to Nashville, up through the Smokies, up through the Savannah. We do that a lot. And then one year, me and him, we rode to Ohio because that's where he's from. We rode up, and our wives flew up, and then we picked them up, and we rode around New York, Ohio. We went up to Niagara Falls. So she'll get on the bike. The new one, she's not as happy with on the 18 as she was on the 07, but she still gets on, and we're making the plans to go up to Tazewell, Virginia for the motovlogger. So she's going to get on the bike for a week.
That's awesome.
So
now, what kind of riding do you like to do? I'm assuming with a bike like that, you like to get on and dump the tank.
Yeah. If I'm by myself, most people won't ride with me. It's like I will go tank to tank all day long.
Okay.
But with my wife on it or with my buddy, it's a 350, a day, 400 tops if you have to. Yeah, but it's what we do. Like when we go up to the Smokies, we try to get up there. We get up there as quick as we can, because you only got so much vacation time. So we get to where we're going as fast as we can. Stay in one spot for 2 to 4 days, minimum 2 days. And then so that way we can just get on the bike, ride around, see the small things, hit the trails, ride, just not have to worry about getting on and off the bike. Oh, where are we staying tonight? Then we'll pick another destination and go there for another few days.
Okay.
So we move around a bit. But if I'm by myself, was it Labor Day weekend? I don't know. I jumped on the bike Friday night. I think I did a video. It was the trip to nowhere. Okay. I got on the bike Friday night. It was 97 degrees air temperature here in Florida. And I'm like, I'm going. So I got on the bike Friday and I just go. And this is like during the whole Rona, like things were just opening up. Down in Florida, we've been open. I don't know how you people are dealing with things up there. I'd go nuts.
Oh, that was the interesting part about traveling, for sure, is that the whole world's different. I'm sorry, I interrupted your story. So you got on.
Yeah. So I got on Friday night. I rode from here to Lakeland, which is about 5 hours up the road. Spent the night. I'm up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning because I don't sleep in hotels very well. I got on the bike in Lakeland, rode all the way up to Gatlinburg, up through the Smokies, Georgia, parts of Tennessee, North Carolina, rode all the way through there, and then ended up spending the night south of Atlanta.
Wow.
So I got on the bike at 4 in the morning. I got off at about 7 o'clock at night.
What kind of miles was it? What were you looking at?
I don't even know. See, I just don't care. Like, that's why when it's like the iron butts and all that, I won't fill out the paperwork because I just don't care.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, I can do it. I can do it in my sleep.
That's awesome.
So that's the kind of riding I do. But around town, like a breakfast ride, like me and my buddy, if we go to breakfast, it's usually 75 to 110 miles.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of taking the bike to the bar. I always crack up with people that are like, oh, we're gonna go riding, and it's like, oh, let's go to we have the Piccadilly Inn. It's in the Pine Barrens. It's about 20 miles from here, and everybody's like, oh, we can go meet at the Pick, and I'm like, it's not worth getting on the bike.
Yeah.
Take the car.
Yeah, we have friends that are like that. Like, oh, let meet us over here. It's like, why? I don't ride and drink. Like, bike week's coming up, and I'll go up to that because I'm so close to it. We're gonna go up either Friday night or Saturday morning and come back Monday. Yeah, just a short trip up because bike week I've done it so much that it's more go for the ride than it is about. I don't care about drinking. I don't care about all the other things that happen at bike week. And Florida doesn't offer a lot of riding possibilities around Daytona. Not to break anybody's hearts when they get here, but there's a nice loop that goes around, but it's not like, whoa, look at all the mountains. It's beach, women, and beer. I mean, that's bike week.
And drunk women.
Yeah. And there's so much stuff you don't want to see. It's just like, oh, my eyes, sometimes you're like plucking out your eyes like, oh.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of crowds.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like those things are, I'm sure you've been, but it's like going to the International Motorcycle Show. It's fun to go. Probably going to go this year with the wife because it's in PA. So we're going to meet up with some folks, but it's, I'm not one to just go to rallies and stuff. It's just not my thing. To me, that's wasted time. I want to be riding.
Yeah, and that's what's funny because me and my buddy, when I got the 18, he has an 05 Goldwing, and he bought that thing. It had like 2,000 miles on it when he bought it in 2018. It's pristine. And it's funny, we have the same amount of miles on both bikes, even though his is an 05.
Oh, that's hysterical.
It is.
So how many miles do you ride in a year, do you think?
Well, last year was 2019 really for me was a bad year of riding. I mean, the Goldwing's just about to turn 15,000, which is not much considering this is March will be 3 years since I bought it.
Okay.
And because I had back surgery, we had a death in the family. It just everything compiled in 2019, and then 2020 it was like, brr. But if I can, I'm usually a 10 to 15 to 20,000 miles a year on the bike.
Nice.
If I can. I mean, it's, life gets in the way, and I have 2 bikes, so it's like I go between the 2.
Okay.
And I want a third, so.
And then a fourth because why stop?
I got a list. See, I need one with 1 cylinder. I've got a 2-cylinder. Let's see, but then the problem with the 2-cylinder is you have a parallel twin, you got V twins, and you got boxers.
You got a post.
I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? So that's 3 bikes right there. And then you need a triple. And the only triple that I really want is the Rocket 3.
Okay.
Yeah, that's that bike. My buddy has one, and my other buddy has one. And I keep telling my one buddy, because he doesn't ride much anymore. I'm like, so when do you want to sell that thing, huh? I'm like, because me and my friend Lee, who I ride with primarily, like we have a saying now, the bikes don't leave the family.
There you go.
It's like he's got 4 now. 4. And so I'm 2 behind. It's not fair.
I don't know. I had 2, and I always felt like I had the child I didn't love enough because I felt like it was, I had a Versus 650, which is an absolutely fantastic little bike.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
but I rode it to work because at the time I had a Suzuki Intruder 1500, which
Okay.
they're not bad bikes, but they're just not nimble bikes. And then I bought
No.
the limited, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this better than both of them. It's just easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They
That's how
make
I get.
and to your point too, if you ride, it's there is something to be said for having multiple bikes. You
Mhm.
can have the all-weather bike. That's the one thing that I liked with the Goldwing so much, is that it's an all-weather bike versus mine,
Yeah.
which, yeah, I ride it in all weather, but I think you have to, I don't know, you probably have to pray to the Harley gods after that and clean
Yeah.
it for the rest of your life. And
That's the problem, man. It's like I ride the Plastic Princess. I just don't. I don't have the stamina to clean a Harley.
no, and
I'm like, I'm
I
like
wanted a blacked out.
hose,
Yeah,
soap, blower, dry. I'm done.
that was the best part about having an adventure bike. I didn't care. It was dirty 365 days out of the year. It didn't matter. Who cares? It gives a
Yeah,
character.
that's what it's for.
So what
That's one thing I would like.
what's your do you have a max that you've run in a day? Do you remember?
Ooh, Uh, one day, 24 hours or just one day?
I mean, just your longest one day ride. I'm just curious
Probably,
because I mean, riding a bike like
probably from Chicago to Rapid City, South Dakota.
wow, okay,
That was about like all said and done. I think we figured it out from hotel to hotel was about 865 miles.
nice.
It was a poor mistake on our part. We're so used to the South and living down here where it's like, where you're at, you ride down the freeway, there's everything, hotels here, there. I used to live out in Albuquerque, so I should have understood that when you get out west, there's nothing there, dummy. So
Oh,
we get it. Yeah, well, we left Chicago, we pull into Sioux Falls because it's right across the border, from Minnesota into South Dakota. Pull in there, get gas. We're like, let's look at the clock as dummy us. Oh, the time change. Yeah, so I always got plenty of time. It's only whatever time it was, and the sun is still way high up because you're so far north and it's the summer.
ah,
It's like, good job, Timmy. Yeah, so we're like, so it's like we get going, and it's like we look at the gas gauge. We're like, so we're like, signal. We stop at this gas station, and I kid you not, it had gas pumps and a credit card reader.
oh wow.
Just
So
it was
nothing.
24. It was 24 hours,
Oh, jeez.
but it was gas pumping. And so we're getting gas. I'm looking at my phone, which is terrible. So I pull up the GPS on the bike, and we're like, and I put in hotels, and it's like you can go 80 miles that way or continue another 150 miles that way,
Oh,
because it was like there was nothing there. It's like, oh, here we come. So we just kept going.
that's funny. That's the thing I found this year with we did a 13-day ride and we went up to Niagara Falls and stuff, and
Oh,
there were a
nice.
couple of places that I was like, oh yeah, there's this town, and then you stop and you realize the town closed at like 7. It's 8 o'clock at night. You can't find food, and wife's ready to kill me. I'm like, yeah, this isn't like the car.
We're like, sorry, honey.
Yeah, you forget that some of these small towns just, I mean, they shut down,
Yeah,
especially with all that was going on. It's it's they're already hurting to begin with. So 7 o'clock,
yeah,
they just shut the doors. It's
yeah,
absolutely crazy.
yeah. I've had that happen. Like you pull in somewhere, you're like, oh. It's like you pray, you like, do I still have that granola bar on the bike or
Yeah.
something edible?
Well, too, and you don't, I mean, for me, when I rode, by myself, I don't care. I'll just eat gas station hot dogs. But
Oh
you
yeah,
go with somebody else and you're like, oh yeah, okay, maybe we
yeah.
shouldn't do this.
The wife's on the bike. You're like, okay, so I know I'm going to have a lunch break for at least an hour.
Yep.
We're going to have multiple potty breaks along the way. So if we get out of Florida today, okay.
I will say though, the one thing that I enjoy with riding with her is it slows me down.
Oh
Because
yeah,
like you
yeah,
said, if it's just me, I mean, I won't even get off the bike. I'll just fuel it and keep going.
yep,
And it's which is fun. I mean, there's days where it's just great to throw down those miles.
yeah, yeah. Especially when you're out where you want to be. You know, like if you're in the mountains or anywhere really. Like it's like Florida is very weird because you can be out in the middle of nowhere here. You know, people have this perceived notion of Florida, it's all beaches and theme parks.
Mhm.
we're one of the largest agriculture states in the country. I think, it's our ag business is huge here. And you get out into the interior, even off like if you go between like you got I-95 and I-75, right? So you got 95 on the East Coast, 75 is on the West Coast. You go out to the coast, it's packed. As soon as you start going into the middle, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And it's just straight roads that go through sugar fields, cattle ranches. We don't do a lot of corn, but we got a lot of, sugar, all kinds of stuff,
That's what we deal with in the Pine Barrens. So I live in Jersey, and you think of Jersey with Sopranos and all that, but we're not that far from Fort Dix, and it's all just cranberry bogs, and you're in the middle of nowhere in the Jersey Pines. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
That's
like
really
people
cool.
always have a perceived perception. It's like, oh, Florida's like South Beach. And you're like, no, Florida's a lot like lower Alabama in places.
Have you ever been to like the middle of Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania is like that Pennsylvania where it's like, it's not what you picture. It's just, exactly. You're rolling up and you're like, oh boy.
It's like you feel like the Griswolds and roll them up.
Yep. You pull into a gas station, you can feel everybody looking at you. You're like, hello.
The gas stations are always fun, aren't they? Like I kid you not. Like I think it was the trip we were going up to Ohio and Niagara. So we stopped for the night. We got some beer. My buddy and I are at the gas station getting some beer. Go back to the hotel room, and we got Bud Light Lime. And so all of a sudden we hear this lady go to her husband. "Ooh, look, honey, they got the good stuff over there." Me and my buddy looked at each other, and you're like, oh boy. He's like, that place gave me the heebie-jeebies. It was hilarious, man.
We stopped at this hotel. We were in Towanda, Pennsylvania. We found this hotel. Nothing's open. They send us to it's not a Sheetz, it's not a Wawa, but it's one of these like trucker gas stations across the street. And we spent 15 minutes talking to the cashier because the cashier is telling us about how he hates his job. I'm like, can we just go? I haven't eaten in 12 hours. Like, give me my food, dude.
I just want my burrito, man.
Yeah, I've been on the road all day. I don't have time for this.
It's sometimes it's fun though. Like, that's why we do this though. It's the stories. Because
the road stories are the absolute best.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, like, when we get up to the thing up in Tazewell, which I think that's going to be a lot of freaking story time.
And when is that? Because I heard Toby talking about it on.
It is June 11th through 13th.
Okay.
It's like that weekend, and that's right up at the back of the Dragon, which I haven't been on, so that'd be nice.
Okay.
But yeah, it looks like it'll be interesting. It looks like it's going to be a pretty big event. The amount of people going.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I don't know much about it. I'm not big on doing too many meetups, but
this is the first time I've ever do anything like this.
Oh, that's cool.
Meet just different motovloggers. I mean, that's what's going to be kind of interesting, like face to face. I mean, it's funny because when you watch your channel, my channel, anybody's channel enough, you know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you just know. It's like, I mean, we run into each other someday, hopefully. Like it's just going to sit down and have a beer and talk.
Yeah.
There's no, oh well, how are you? Who are you? It's like it doesn't exist in this community because we all know each other.
It is really weird how small the community, but how big it is at the same time.
Yeah. It's
so
a lot
what
of
got
dedication.
You started into YouTube?
I don't know. Alcohol must have been involved.
That's always the start of any good story.
It's like I'm sitting there.
Hold my beer. I got this.
Yeah. Well, it's like, oh, I like this YouTube thing, and I've always liked photography and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, but I just kind of messed around with it. I've had a channel for years, but I really probably not for the last till I got to 2018 is when I actually got serious about it.
Okay.
I had some stuff with my '07, but I never really got into like the whole vlogging or doing reviews of stuff. But then when I got to 18, I was like, one of my best videos is I did a demo ride on the 2018, like right when it came out. And I bought the bike a week later, and I was like, guys, like, oh, I'll put this up on YouTube. And it was like, I mean, I think that video is at 150,000, 200,000 views, or
Wow.
it's ridiculous. I'm like, oh. So I had the viewership, because you need like a certain amount of hours viewed and then a certain amount of subscribers to actually get monetized. And it used to be like 100 subscribers back in the day, and then they bumped it to 1,000,000, and that's like, woof. So I was like, all right, let me be a little bit more serious about this. Since this did pretty well, and I got a lot of good feedback. So I just kept plugging away at it and just doing different videos. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. I just make it up as I go.
But I think that that's more genuine.
It is. Those are the best videos to me.
I think it's funny when it's like, I don't want to watch an infomercial. You know what I mean? Like, just tell me what you think. And
yeah, it's like in my videos, I do like how-tos, because the 18 is a newer bike. I'm not the Goldwing guy. I mean, the Goldwing guy is cruise man. I mean, he's got 25,000 followers. I mean, he has paid memberships where like he has his garage where like, oh, he'll show you how to do things like, but you pay for the service. I'm like, if I tear something apart, I'm going to show you how I did it. I just don't care. It's like, this is the reason why YouTube exists for me, is let me show you how I did this with normal tools, and I'll try to get you the best camera angles and the best advice that I can. Like putting the Kuryakin backrest on, it's all still on here, but because I got halfway through it and I got frustrated and I hurt my back. So I didn't get the last, like I didn't show how to put it back on, but that was actually the stupidly easy part. It's super easy, but there's one part where if you don't have the service manual, you might get flummoxed. I'm like, I will take something apart until I figure it out. I'll just keep taking screws out. It's like, it's in there somewhere. And that's basically how I did it. It's like, I don't have a service manual for this one. I had one for the 07, and I opened it 5 times. I'm like, hey, you just start taking things apart. Eventually you'll get there.
But I think that there's a truth in that, because, I know a lot of people that'll do like an install, then take it out and then do it again to make it all seamless. And I was like, I have a video coming out Thursday, and at the beginning of it, the side of my lights have hex connectors. So I'm using a hex wrench, which took forever. And then later I've got an impact gun because time went by, it's like fun with it. I think it's, I think that's great, because I think too many people take it too serious where, it's not supposed to be an infomercial,
No, and it's like, we don't get paid for this. And I mean, like with him, the other guy, he gets paid he gets sent stuff to put on the bike and do videos because he's really good at it. I mean, he has a great production value. If you've never seen any of his videos, when it comes to actually installing something, his production value is second to none. And he does motor vlogs too, which they're okay. I mean, they're, he's a great guy. I mean, I'm not going to throw any stones at Chris. He really is. But I mean, it's like his install videos, if you can't put something on your bike after he showed you how to do it,
it can't be done.
You shouldn't, you should never touch anything. Like, just take it to the dealer or call your buddy that knows what he's doing.
That's funny. So when you motovlog, that's what I meant to ask you. So what are you doing for your microphone? Because your audio is killer.
Well, I've gone back and forth. Like right now, I just switched to the Hero 9.
Okay.
And what I did is with the Hero 9, I got the media mod, and I have just a lav mic, a Sony lav mic. I forget which one it is.
Okay.
That I run inside, and that has made my life so much easier.
Yeah.
Because before I have the Senna Bluetooth, and that's how I record when my wife's on it, but the audio is just not there. So I'm probably gonna have to switch to, because I have a Hero 4. Yeah, right. Not as bad. Who showed that they had like it's Toby.
It was Toby.
Showed he had, oh my God.
We're going to start a GoFundMe for him to get him at least a 3.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like I
We
think
can't
I got
spoil
a
him. We get him a 9, he'll be done.
yeah. Well, I'll be done. And you're like, oh, look at me, I'm fancy pants now. But yeah, he showed that. He showed the GoPro, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And it's
That's
like,
really funny.
I was like, dude, well, you got to start somewhere, you know. But I started with my 4, and I have the Senna Bluetooth backpack,
Okay.
so that way I can do both. Um, uh, I have the 20s, so you
Okay.
can link it both to that, and then I can record the audio for both helmets on the one device.
Oh, nice.
But even like she'll be loud in my ear, but when I go to edit, it's just not there.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I'm probably gonna have to switch to. I'm thinking about doing. I hate it because I don't want to get it, but the Senna 10C with the camera
Okay.
and the audio, so that way just for audio. So that way, because I know that HDR uses it, Bodine uses it, and so does Colin when their wives are on it, and their audio quality is so much better because it's way more seamless between the two devices than it is going to the GoPro.
Yeah, I tried it. We tried it when we were in Niagara Falls with the Cardos. We bought Cardos before our
Okay.
trip. And well, you'll appreciate this because you're a Goldwing guy. I went back to the wired headset. I
Okay.
absolutely, we have the J&M it
Yep.
is? Yeah, the
That's what I
J&M
used to run, the
108.
J&M. Yep. Hmm.
You can't beat them. I don't care what anybody tells you.
Yeah.
They just
I
work.
I would switch back to the wired one in a second.
And that was my biggest issue is I wanted to try it, and we did. And the whole trip I was like, I'm ready to just throw these things out. Like they're just
Yep.
garbage.
Once we got ours finally figured out, they work okay. But on the Goldwing, because the new one, it has the intercom built into the bike with Bluetooth.
Hmm.
So if you pair the two Sennas together, which is how they come from the box, they work fine.
Okay.
But I have to pair my headset to the bike so I can use Apple CarPlay.
Okay.
And then once you do that, it freaking throws the whole thing into a tizzy.
Really?
Yeah, and I've tried every moderation. And of course, I've had like 10 people tell me, "Oh, you got to do it like this and that." And like, I've done every way you can. It just, when you have two people on that bike with two Sennas, even if they're just directly hooked into the bike and not each other, that's why sometimes, like Jack noticed it on my last video, like my wife was on it and it was just crackly as all get out.
Hmm.
It's because if I disconnect the Bluetooth on the bike, it's clear. But as soon as I have my headset plugged into the bike as well, it gets crackly.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's why I'm thinking about if I switch to the 10C, maybe I can get around that problem.
Yeah, I didn't it was funny. We bought the Harley headsets and they're horrible. And then I
Yeah.
bought the J&M ones and I couldn't believe how great they are. Plus you don't
Yeah,
run
we
out
had
of battery. That's the thing that kills me. Is
yeah.
I'm terrible charging stuff. So I'll leave it in a tower like bloop bloop.
Bloop,
Great.
bloop. Oh yeah, that's what that cord's for.
Yeah. The plug-in just seems to work. And that's a shame that they took that away from the new wing. I mean, I get it, but
Yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, it was because that's one thing my wife and I both actually, because there's no batteries, there's no nothing. You plug the thing in, the J&M, the headset, they put in great speakers
Mhm.
and they just work all day long.
Yep.
And it's like, man, I think that if they kept the wired connection with the Apple CarPlay, it would have gone a lot smoother with
Yeah.
the linking of stuff, because then you're not fiddling with the back and forth with the headsets too. Because like, you can either listen to music externally or internally in the headsets,
Okay.
but you have to link the headsets to the bike to do that. And once you do that, you can't talk to each other. It's a rabbit hole of death.
Really?
I've tried everything. I've unpaired them completely, like completely erased
Mhm.
the Sennas, plugged them both into the bike, just paired them to the bike. One is the rider, one is passenger. Still messes up. And then I just said, forget it. So I just linked them to each other and they work fine. Like, but that's the one thing I much prefer regular plug-in.
Yeah.
especially for the amount of riding I do.
Well, and I think that that's really hard to sell to people unless they do it. You know, if you're
Yeah.
riding 12, 13 hours a day or longer,
Yeah.
it just works. There's a lot to be said for it.
Yeah. But well, you and I are probably the only knuckleheads that ride that far every day.
You know, I look
There
at
are a
the
lot of us.
resale
Like
value
I
of
know,
my
like,
bike. I'm
yeah,
killing it.
like Whit did it the other. Yeah, she did her iron butt and on a Sportster. Yeah, she's tough. I'd be like, I look at my BMW, like, no way we're going that far.
We
Even though
went to Pittsburgh for lunch and back, and it was like 730 miles, I think. And
yeah, nice.
that was fun. I don't know that I want to do it on a regular basis, but
Yeah.
you know, it was fun. The 1,000, yeah, on a Sportster, it's
Like, oh, it's like I've done some serious miles on the BMW. We did because we both, it was funny because I sold my 07, my buddy sold his Ultra, and we were going to rent 2 BMW RTs.
okay.
And like, because I was looking at that as getting back into touring or new touring bike, and I was like, oh, yeah, I went through the whole thing with what's that place called? The big
Eagle
motorcycle
Rider?
rental. That's the one. Reserve these bikes 2 months in advance. 2 days before we leave, we can't get your bikes.
Oh,
We're like, but we can give you a Harley Davidson. We're like, no.
yeah. Who wants that?
Yeah. So that was, I was like, no. We've both been there, done that. So we're like, So we ended up, he had his Triumph Rocket 3, and I had my 1200R, and I have the big hard bags for the R. So we're like,
nice.
Ride what you got.
Yeah.
That's how we used to do it when we were younger. It's like, it didn't matter what bike it was. Like, I saw a touring bike. It's like, that's the one I got. So we went from here up to, have you ever been to Skip Barber's motorcycle museum?
No.
That everybody who watches this video, the one thing everybody's motorcycle bucket list, there's 2 places. One is Skip Barber's motorcycle museum in Birmingham. The other should be Wheels of Time in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. The history of motorcycles in those 2 buildings will blow your mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only place I've been to is a place called Bill's Bike Barn. It's in Pennsylvania, and it's really eclectic. It's got a little bit of everything in it. It's pretty cool. But I've heard both of those are fantastic.
Yeah, Barber's place is a museum. It truly, but everything in there runs.
That's cool.
They have bikes, and they're like, I didn't realize it, but every Japanese manufacturer made a turbo bike.
Okay.
And they have them all.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean everything. Yeah, look at that place. But one thing I like about Dale's Wheels Through Time, and he just passed away, which is a shame. Everything in his museum is American.
Okay.
100%. And everything in there, they got a little underneath every bike. There's a silver platter that catches the oil. Because you walk in there and it's like you just walked into a working garage. Like the smells hit you. It's
that's cool.
The old rubber, the old leather, the gasoline, the oil, that stench. It's just it's intoxicating.
Oh, that's really cool. I'll have to check.
Like you walk in there, you're like, oh, I'm home. This is great. It's like my wife's looking at me like, this guy stinks. I'm like, I know.
Smells like men.
It does. I mean, and it's great because the stuff that's in there, it'll blow your mind. And he runs, everything runs. He restores everything to run.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And they give away a bike every year. Last year they gave away they do a raffle. Like last year they were giving a 90 or 39 Panhead away.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't win,
not know
obviously.
what to do with it.
I'd be like, I'll ride it around the block and you can put it right back in that museum.
Yeah.
Because I ain't taking that home.
Somebody want to buy this?
I would never sell it. I would give it right back to them. I would probably ride it around the block, say thanks.
Make a couple YouTube videos and then bail out.
A couple of YouTube videos on it, and okay, put it back in your museum, but it's yours. It's a donation. Keep it.
That's awesome.
What would you? I'd be so scared that I would wreck that piece of Americana. I'd be like, I'm not taking no.
Yeah.
But
I know a lot of people that, they have these antique bikes. I'm just like, nah, man, if I can't, if it's going to hurt to drop it or I make a mistake, no thanks. Mm-mm.
yeah, it's like one of the craziest places I ever saw a lot of old bikes, and this will shock you, is New Zealand.
Really?
We were there a couple of years ago, and they were having the Burt Monroe Classic.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And I wish I had gone because I didn't know about it till we were already on the other island, because he lived on the South Island at the very end of the
Okay.
South Island. And I saw all these bikes everywhere. And I'm talking old Harley Davidsons, Hondas, Triumphs, a lot of British BSAs, a lot, everything. But they were all 50s earlier. And these guys are riding them.
Oh,
I was like, because I stopped at one place and I looked and I saw the tags on them. Like, yeah, it was like a 49, and one was a 51. I'm like, when I see the guys, I said, what the heck's going on? He's, oh, the Burt Monroe Classic. It's like our bike week.
that's cool.
And I'm like, and they ride these things. I'm like, dude, you guys are insane. But there's 10 people there.
That's gotta be,
Yeah, it was amazing.
that's cool.
And the roads there, oh, I'd move there in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a lot to be said for moving somewhere there's roads. There's not here.
Yeah.
New Jersey,
And there's
they're
no
like,
people.
"Meh." Oh yeah, no people's even better.
Yeah, because I mean, they think they're like 4 or 5 million people in the entire country,
Jeez.
and the majority of them live on the North Island near Auckland.
Okay.
So it's like when you're on the South Island, which is beautiful, you're just like, this is great.
Oh man, that'd be
But the
fantastic.
national speed limit is 100 kilometers an hour,
Which is
60
okay.
miles an hour, 60-ish.
Nice.
It's so weird, so slow.
So slow.
Well, I mean, me going to work, the road I go take to work, it's just a regular road, is 55 miles an hour.
Okay.
Their national speed limit on the interstate is 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. I think here
You're
we're
like,
70. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I'm always doing 75. Like my normal cruise on the Goldwing is 78, 80 miles an hour. That's what I set the cruise control on.
Yeah. That
It's
thing
like,
will move.
yeah, it's just quiet and you're just blowing through the wind.
So what are your thoughts on the new wing? Because I know you don't have a DCT either, right? You're using
No,
standard six.
I got it. Yeah, I got the standard 6-speed. For a one-up touring bike, it's fantastic. It has all the components of the Goldwing you want. The all-day ability to go,
Mhm.
the reliability, it's not going to break. All the good features. The only thing, like, that's why I say one up, because the windscreen, like the wind protection compared to my 07, it's like night and day.
Okay.
The 07, I could ride through a thunderstorm and not get a drop of rain on me. This thing, I get absolutely soaked because the shield is narrower.
Mhm.
That's why I put the klockwerks on. I put a
Okay.
klockwerk shield on it. That's made a huge difference. Even though I was hoping it was going to be colder, but right now it's 79 degrees.
It's like 23 here.
Yeah.
Snowing.
Did you see Blacktop Devil?
No.
They're like minus 20 or something. I was like, you poor bugger. Like, you want to come to Florida? I got a pool.
Kid Moto's posting videos and are talking, and he's talking about, it's minus something. And I'm like, that's just no, I can't do that.
No.
My boss lives in Texas, and I think that they're at like 8 degrees today.
Yeah, I got cold there too.
She sending me pictures of the snow. I'm like, oh, that's every day here in New Jersey. Just don't worry. What are you worried about?
Yeah. But but that's why the older bike, the 2001 to the 17, is the ultimate 2-up tour, luxury 2-up. I mean, you can 2-up on any bike. The Ultra's got its drawbacks and benefits, just like all of them. But when it came to pure passenger comfort and everything like that, the Goldwing, I mean, and while we test drove a GTL, the BMW,
Mhm.
and the sheet like the seating, and then it just has pegs. Like BMWs, they only have pegs. Floorboards, what are those? We don't know what those are. Yeah, they're
What does
worst
this
German.
you speak of?
What is this you speak of? Backrest fall? No. It's like, so it just in the seat cushion was just awful. And then like they glue, like basically they take a cushion and they glue it to the trunk. There's your cushion. So she didn't care for that, but the pickup on that thing, oh my God. Yeah, that's like bye-bye, but the 18 and above, the storage isn't quite there. And that was like, now the 21 just came out, and they at least they're listening to people on YouTube and their critics.
They only did the top box though on the new one, right?
Correct. Yeah, the top box. They didn't change the side boxes. They just did the top box. But the side boxes are small, especially the right side bag is a lot smaller than the left side bag because the swing arm comes down the right. So your drive shaft on it, so that box is a lot smaller on the right side. And I was like, and it was funny because when I first was loading the bike one time, I'm like, because I bought the bags, they're supposed to be, you fill up this bag, it'll fit in the thing. Heck no. I'm like, the right side, I'm like, this ain't gonna fit in there. I'm like, this is stupid. And then I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, so yeah, that was like, so that was a bummer. But the top box, like by myself, I'm fine. Because but we're going to go up to Daytona, so that'll be kind of she went up to Daytona when we first got the bike. It was a Biketoberfest, whatever. They all run together. And she did pretty well on it. And because it's a weekend, you can pack light. I don't pack heavy. The biggest thing I worry about is socks and underwear.
Yeah.
I kid you not, me and my buddy went out to Sturgis, and not for the rally, but just to go to Sturgis from here. And that was it's like a 5,000 mile trip. We did it a little over a week. And I think I've had like 3 pairs of jeans. I wore the same ones the entire trip.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I'm like, why do I keep packing all this crap? And as I've read more and more, my problem is on the 07, I had a Ask Him and Cade trailer.
Okay.
I had the California sidecar trailer for the bike.
Nice.
And don't ever buy one ever, because if you get one of those, your wife will never let you sell it, or you'll have to buy another one for the next bike. Because like we would pack rollaways, like
that's awesome.
Suitcases, because all you do is you pack your stuff in that and you throw it in there and you're done.
Yeah.
There's no, how do I pack this? How do I pack that? It's like, no, I need an extra pair of shoes, extra pair of boots. It's like, and then my buddy and his wife, that thing was full. And with the Goldwing, it's like, it didn't even know it was there.
That's awesome.
But never again. Don't ever buy a trailer.
That's the challenge of travel on the bike. And I think for us, it was nice because it gave us days to do clothes and do wash. And that kind of, to your point, and that's the one thing we learned, because this is the first time we've ever done a trip that long, is to sort of ground yourself in a town and spend some time there, so you're not constantly packing and repacking, and that eats up time quick.
It does, and you got a finite amount of time. So you're like, I have on trips just thrown away all my underwear and socks because there's a Walmart everywhere in America. It's like, it's okay, I can spend $5 and I can get another week.
Oh no, and there's a lot to be said for that, because you're on the bike, you're not going to 5-star hotels, or you're not going to fancy restaurants, you're riding.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't care. Like, I bring a pair of shorts. Oh, cool, Kona, you got the Rona.
No, I'm good.
Thanks for turning away and coughing, though.
You're safe. I'll put my mask on.
But that's the things you learn the more you do these trips, especially when you're traveling with your spouse. You've got to pack a whole different way. You've got to accommodate more, and which is good though. It slows you down and lets you enjoy what you're doing more.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it was kind of fun when we actually filmed, was that it does make you kind of slow down and think, because if I'm on the bike myself, I'll just go.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's no stopping.
No, you're like, huh?
First time I
Food.
took a motorcycle tour vacation, whatever you say, my buddies were like, "I don't understand. How come you're not stopping?" Because I'm riding.
Yeah.
I went to ride. I didn't go to stop.
Yeah, it's like, well, you didn't stop there, you didn't stop there. It's like, you didn't stop at that bar. I'm like, for what? Well, unless they got a mean pretzel,
Yeah.
you know. It's yeah, I know, I'm the same way. I just, that's what it is. I just get on the bike and go. You know, I don't care about mileage. It's just when I get tired, I stop.
Yeah.
When I wake up, I go. Because especially when you're by yourself, you're like, why do I want to spend any extra time at a hotel?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like my last trip. Well, it was funny when I was coming back that night. I stopped in Atlanta. I was like, oh, because they were open, but they had restaurants were open. So I went across the street to, I think, Applebee's or Chili's.
Okay.
They sat down and goes, yeah, because I'm done for the night. And I'm like, yeah. I said, you have pictures? She's like, yeah. And she's like, but there's just one of you. I'm like, no problem. It's like, I'm like, no problem. It's just a picture. It's only like 4 or 5 beers. And I feel like she just looked at me like I was two heads, because I'm like, I just downed the whole thing. I'm like, had some food, walk back to the hotel and eat. It's like,
yeah.
That's what I enjoy. It's just that and the clearing of the head.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that two-wheel wind therapy. There's a lot.
Yeah, well, it's like you were talking about a while back, especially during November, Men's Health Month. About the mental aspects. The stress people are under these days is astronomical. I mean, it's pressures, from everything now. We used to have a lot simpler lives. Now you have financial pressures, you have pressures being brought on by other things like pandemics, and that makes your financial pressure more. And as guys, we carry a lot of that. Like, I don't share a lot of that with people. Like, I keep it bottled up, and then when I go for riding, that's like, I tell my wife, I said, I leave it on the road. It's like, I just declutter, and that's how I stay sane.
There's so much to be said for that. And I always tell people, it's like, the Sennas are cool and all that, but there are times, like, I always say to my wife, I'm like, are we taking fulls or halves? And she's like, we're taking half helmets. I know that I'm not gonna have to think, I'm not gonna talk, we're just gonna ride, and it's that time to just clear your head.
Yeah. And that's what's funny. It's like my buddy Lee, who in the past 10 years have probably ridden together at least 50, maybe 80,000 miles together.
Wow.
We don't talk to each other. We don't have Bluetooth connection. We don't have audio connection, even on the Goldwings. We're like, when you need gas, you pull up and that's it. It's all hand signals. We don't even talk to each other.
Yeah.
When we're eating something or at night, hey, did you see that? Yeah, that's cool. But on the road, it's like nothing. It's kind of liberating. That's like how it used to be. You used to get on a bike and there's no phones. You can't get me on a phone. You can't, like, go on the Goldwing. It's like, I'm gonna put a stupid phone plugged in. It's like bing bing, text message. I'm like, son of a. Phone starts ringing. You're like, I hate this bike. I want my old bike back. So that's when I get on the BMW. I don't pair my Senna. I don't even listen to music.
Okay.
On my BMW. It's just complete road noise and motorcycle.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like, I don't care for that. I only ride that one for maybe, well, nowadays probably a couple hours at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, but I love that bike. I thought about selling it, but like, can't do it.
Yeah, it's weird because the creature comforts are nice, but there's a lot to be said where it's like, just shut it off, and no music, no nothing.
Yeah, and there's something about wheelies.
Like, I can't do it.
I've gotten the Goldwing off the ground.
Wow.
Yeah, it can be done. It's actually not that hard. That thing's got so much torque.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that it doesn't have a torque curve. It has a torque line.
Gotcha.
If you ever seen a dyno on it, I mean, the horsepower is pretty low on it. It's like, it's weird on the newer one. It's lower than it was on the 18.
Okay.
But they're testing the DCT. That's one of the things I've always wondered, if the DCT and the manual, because like on the older cars, a manual transmission always had more power than the automatic, because they had to detune it for the torque converters. But this is a dual clutch, so I'm like wondering if there's any power loss.
Yeah.
But the torque curve comes up like this, and at about 1400 RPMs, it just stays steady. And then when it gets to about 5800, it drops. It's a line straight across.
That's crazy.
It's just like you hit the throttle, it's like, brrr. It's not fast,
cool.
but it's just, okay, I'm gonna go. I can be in fifth gear and you can start and I will move.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I like with my bike is you don't have to, it's not like the 650 KLR I had where if you were in the wrong gear, you knew it. This one, I'm like, oh, I'm in fifth, whatever,
Yeah, it's like, I'll keep going with that.
I'm doing 30 in sixth gear, whatever.
It's like, what's that weird noise? It's like, oh, sixth gear, click, click. It's like, yeah. And that's the thing, that's why I stuck with the 6-speed manual. As I rode the DCT as well, and I felt so disconnected from the bike.
Okay.
It was just personal choice. I did a video on that too. It's like some people scorched. Oh, you know what you're talking about. Yeah, I hear that clunky transmission. I'm like, it's a personal choice. The DCT is fantastic, and I think within the next few years, like, because Honda just positioned, they do Goldwing stuff. They change them every like 3 to 4 years. They'll do a little bit of tweaking, and I think in the next major tweak of the 18, is this like the Gen 6, I guess, somewhere in there, Gen 6, Gen 7 Goldwing. By that time, version 2 comes out, like not a complete redesign, but an aesthetic redesign. I bet you the 6-speed is going to go away.
I don't know. When we were looking at them, I don't know if I've ever seen a manual.
Yeah, they're rare. The dealer I talked to that I bought my bike at he's a powerhouse dealer over Miami. So I went over there to get it because my local dealer might just no. They outsell the DCTs 4-1
really
to the manual.
Okay.
So they're not going, because people want them, because let's face it, people who ride Goldwings are not typically my age group. I'm in my late 40s. Yep. I bought my first one when I was 2007, so I was 30 something.
Yeah.
When I bought my first one.
People find out I ride an Ultra, they're like, so what, you're like in your late 50s, 60s? I'm like, no, I'm not even 50.
No, I'm not even 50 yet, you jerk.
It's comfortable though.
Just ride away.
Yeah.
Shut up.
You damn kids.
Yeah, get off my porch.
I always get a kick out of that when people talk smack about having an Ultra and it's a geezer glide, and I'm like, you know what, let's go out for a ride, and I'll just sit the cruise control and I can lean back and you can when you get there,
sit here like this. Yeah. And that's what's funny. It's like, and that's the thing with the Ultras or any of the big touring bikes. It's like, oh, that thing's an old man bike. It's like, yeah, it's because you've actually never ridden one. It's like, you just don't understand the difference between comfort and everything else. It's like, yeah, you look cool. Like my buddy has 4 bikes because he's like, his philosophy is you got more than one pair of shoes, you need more than one bike.
Fair enough.
So like, so everyone's different. Like he won't ride his Rocket 3 more than 100 miles, 150 miles, because it just kills you.
Sure.
Even though we did ride a 1,500 mile trip on that thing. I did on my Beamer. Oof. When you go from a Goldwing back to something like that, or an Ultra, or my God, you're like, what in the hell was I thinking? I am not 20 years old anymore. I
took a live wire out twice, and I have to say it was like the most exhilarating, amazing technology experience. And I thought it was funny that people that don't ride them, especially like the boomers that are, the diehard Harleys, and they're like, oh, but you can only go 150 miles. I'm like, I'd argue after 75, my 49-year-old body couldn't take it. It would just be like, no thanks. It's like, I can go more than 150 miles. You're like, you go 20 miles to the bar and back. What's your point, buddy? Yeah.
It's like,
But
yeah,
those are
that's the
the
thing
people
with
that
it.
have the ultras because they need the comfort.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh, I can get on this thing and sit here. It's like, yeah. And I saw something, I think it was Revzilla came out with the article that they're Harley's pushing more into the electrics. They're going to be putting them in the larger bikes.
Yeah,
They're
I
going to
think
make it.
that, I think that I personally, well, I shouldn't say personally. This bike was bought for my wife. My wife likes the way the backrest wraps around her. She didn't like, the other bikes. And I was like, hey, that's fine. The only thing is, if we
Mhm.
buy it, we need to be able to empty a tank of gas. We're not going out for 40 miles because then
Yeah,
it's pointless. It's too much for a big
yeah,
bike. But yeah, it's weird. They're in this weird state where the boomers are dying off or not
yep,
riding. So the Gen Xers are coming up, and there's this weird mix of old school and technology. It's like
yeah,
you don't need to give me a whole lot, but you could give me a liquid cooled engine. I'd be really happy.
yeah, right. Yeah, and I think that's where Honda positioned themselves pretty well with the new Goldwing. It's like, it's the old people, everybody that I know that's in their late 60s, and I know personally that have older Goldwings will never buy one
Mm-hmm.
because it's not what they want. But people who are younger who are like, we don't do the week-long trips on the bikes. We just don't have time, but we do want to do a weekend trip.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be comfortable. And I could plug my phone into this thing and just say, hey Siri or hey Google, where's a hotel? Boop, boop. You want me to call it? Yes. That's kind of where we're at. It's like, do I want? And then they kind of like gave the DCT because they took it off the African Twin
Mm-hmm.
and put it in that, and it's a huge seller. I mean, they're smart because it's like, this is a touring bike. They don't pretend that the Goldwing is a sport bike. And I think that's where Harley's done a good job, is they don't position themselves to say, oh, our ultra classic or our road glide or our street glide is a sport bike. It's a touring bike. If you want a sport bike, buy a sport bike or a sport touring.
I love that argument of, well, but if I had a 131 or a stage 9 kit, or make up whatever thing you want, and you're like, okay, but it's a road sofa. Like, I bought that bike to put
Yeah,
miles on it. I didn't
yeah,
buy that bike to ride down the street.
yeah, yeah. Those bikes are my bike. They're built. They're for the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
They're for the concrete. They're concrete queens.
I would even argue
For,
for back roads. I mean, maybe not like, crazy. I mean, I've
yeah,
never
they
run
could.
into a situation where it felt too big.
Yeah, everything that I've ridden a Goldwing on, like the tail of the dragon, wherever up. Yeah, I've hit it all up in the southern Tennessee, North Carolina on a Goldwing, and it's a Goldwing.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's still fast. The new one is even faster, like, because you put that thing in sport mode, and that throttle response is way better. But the transmission gearing is different than my old one, so it's that took a little bit to get used to, but it works really well. But it's a Goldwing, and yeah, they took some of their sports stuff off. I mean, when they introduced the 2001, who was riding it? When Honda introduced Honda's first commercial with the Honda Goldwing, the person riding it pulled up, flipped up his helmet. It was Nicky Hayden.
Okay.
And then he cracks it and pulls out, and because they made a clear statement. This is no longer the GL 1500. This is the GL 1800, because what they did, because the A15 was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So when they made the 1800, they cut, I think it was like 300 parts off that bike.
Oh, wow.
Because all the components. So they streamlined it down to like 47 parts. And they took the sport guy and they said, what do we got to do with this thing? And he's like, put the single swing arm on it. They redesigned the bike, and it was a hit. Like, I have a friend has a 2001 still to this day, and he's over 300,000 miles.
Wow.
Only mechanical.
We sat on, I guess it was the first year of the redesign. That's an 18, you said?
Yep, 18.
We sat on it in the showroom, and the guys like started up, and I'm like, is this on? And I don't mean that in a bad way. It was so smooth. It was like, and I cracked the throttle, and my wife's like, I hear it, but is it on? I'm like, it's on. Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's the one nice thing that I've always respected with Honda is that they're not afraid to do something different.
No,
You
and
know,
that's
and
where,
it's, you know, at some point you have to not be afraid about pissing off a few people.
yeah, and that's the thing. The people they pissed off aren't buying bikes anymore. It's plain and simple. If that's why I get a lot of people ask me on my channel, like, oh, would you buy an old one or new one? I said, well, what kind of ride do you? Oh, we do a lot of two up. Buy an older one. Try to find an older one because you're going to enjoy it more than the new one.
And they're a steal. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
relatively speaking.
It's like, oh, this one's got 50,000 miles on. I'm like, I'm here to tell you, 50,000 miles on a Goldwing is nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, when I sold mine, I had 80,000 on it, and it still looked and brand new. You just change the oil.
Yeah.
You change the fluids, and that's all it needs. Those motors are built to run. Like my friend that has 300,000 miles on his, he's done 2 shims on the valve train.
Wow, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And his rear end locked or went bad. But the nice thing is, you know how many trike conversions are out there?
Yep.
Just call a trike shop. Hey, you got one? Yep. How much you want for it?
That's that, and I won't lie, that's one of the things that when we were looking at, and I said, you know, my wife Katie didn't particularly care for the back side of it, for the passenger side of it. You know, she's like, oh, it's, you know, it's too old man looking and it's not as comfortable as I thought it would be. And I'm like, yeah, but you can buy one of them for 12 grand and there's no putting stage 2 in it. There's no, you don't need to do any of that.
Yeah, it's click, boom, boom. Okay, I'm going.
Yeah. Well, I would
Yeah,
argue you
that's,
probably don't need stage 2 in a Harley either. I know I'll get flamed for that, but you know.
burn.
You gotta
Yeah,
let it breathe, Bry. It's gotta breathe.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is, why don't you make it breathe from the factory?
And I think that
That's
they're in a
you're,
very weird position because, like you said, they've got to do something to, in my opinion, to break out from that.
mhm.
But at the same time, your whole company's built around that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things, not to throw, anything at Harley, but when I first started riding Harley Davidson, when you went to a Harley dealer, you ordered your bike.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't go to the dealer and get it.
Mm-hmm.
You had to wait. So that's why used Harleys were worth so much, is because, oh, I can find a new one or used one. I'm going to pay a little bit more, but it's there. But now it's like, you walk, like the place I got down here, they got every bike, every color made. It's like there's no, and then you're still charging a premium price for it. So it's like,
The Road Glide was my dream bike, and I couldn't find one used here because ultras are
yeah,
like big here. And but yeah, to your point, you're tripping over them. You know, they're especially some of the models, they're everywhere.
yeah, it is. It's just a shame because they've ruined their own market, and then they made their dealers make these huge dealerships. I mean, the dealerships used to be small, affordable places that these guys could run but now it's like it's the lifestyle. They're not selling motorcycles anymore. They're selling you a lifestyle. I mean, it's like wild hogs. Everybody thinks they're the Del Fuegos, but in essence, you're Dudley.
Yep.
Honestly, none of us are badass bikers.
I think it's really funny that the favoritism that has, because people are like, oh, will you ride a Harley? I'm like, yeah, and I'm an AV nerd. Like,
yeah,
it's what I ride because it's what I like. It's not,
yeah,
you know.
It's like, so how come you don't have a Harley Davidson? I'm like, because I can't grow facial hair.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't grow a beard or a goatee. I'd be like, how am I supposed to get on one? They won't run right.
It's so funny how like the bikes have that. So like you think of a Goldwing, you think of people with the matching helmets with the matching clothes, you know.
Yeah, that's
Every
me.
bike has its stereotype.
Yeah. Like BMW. It's like everything says BMW on it, But it's weird in Florida. BMW riders down here, they look like everybody else. They'll be out there in flip flops and everything. Where usually the BMW guys were always in every piece stitch of clothing was BMW. Down here though, it's
with
like,
the Schubert helmet, you know, and
oh yeah,
then
yeah,
the
yeah,
real fancy stuff. Yeah.
yeah. It's like I had somebody give me a BMW jacket. I was at work and he's like, "What's that? What size jacket you wear?" I'm like, "A large." Okay. And he came in and he was used to ride and he had multiple bikes. Well, he had this really nice BMW motorrad jacket. And
Nice.
he's like, "Here." I'm like, "Holy crap, man. That's like a $300 jacket."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Nice." I got to lose a little bit of weight, but it's a
Yeah,
little
you know, something
snug.
to work towards.
Yeah. It's like, I got to go to the doctor tomorrow. They're going to tell me you lose weight. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Got to fit in this jacket, man.
What's your goal?
Yeah.
See that jacket?
Yeah. It's all about, it all comes back to the bike. It's all it comes
Yep.
back to.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. But I only wear one helmet though.
So what's your helmet preference?
I have a Shoei RF 1200,
Okay.
full face. I used to wear 3/4 a lot, especially on the Goldwing, the older one. But now I find myself more, plus the motovlogging.
Yep.
Like I put the camera on the chin mount. If I want to go back to a modular though, because just to be able to drink something. I got a Butler mug, and I got to like jam it up there to get the straw.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
I'm like, I want to go clunk, you know. But then I'm like, I'm a whole other thing. Where do I put the microphone? Where do I put? I'm like, oh, I like
I had a
YouTube.
modular when I first started. It was great for like getting gas and going in places because you have to take it off.
Yep,
You didn't feel
yep,
like you were, being weird. You could flip it up. Now with
yeah,
Corona, it doesn't matter. You just wear your helmet. So, but
yeah. It's like I'm not taking this thing off.
yeah, it's safer with the helmet on.
Yep.
Multiple levels.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
The
yeah,
1200 is
it's
a nice
just
helmet from what I've heard too.
yeah, it is. It's light. It's comfortable. Like it takes you a while to find a helmet that you like.
Hmm.
Like we used to both like HJCs, but they changed their mold, and ever since then, like the forehead pressure, oh, it's brutal. Like you'd get off the bike and your head just hurts. You have like this sore spot like that,
Yeah.
and it's just the way they changed the head. It still fits my wife, but that it doesn't. Now I want to check out the 14. Yeah, the
That's the one
1400.
I want. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get. I was looking at that. So the 1200 is nice, but Gears and Gadgets. I don't know if you know him.
Mhm.
Uh, he just did a review on the 14, and I'm like, or yeah, CR14, because I have the 1200. No, the 14 is the new one. Whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like, ooh, like, yeah, there goes another $600.
Katie had a what was it? The Speed and Strength. It was like the 1300 or whatever it was, and she's like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this helmet's great. This helmet's great." We were at the Revzilla. We bought. We both bought the RF SF or whatever it is, the Shoei, the one under yours,
Yeah,
and we were out on the bike, and she's like, "Oh, this is really nice." I'm like, yeah, this is why you pay the money for the helmet. Like
yeah,
they are really nice, especially if you're touring.
yeah.
You're
Because
getting
you're
a lot
looking
of
for a lot of different things too. It's like, dressing for the slide, not the ride.
well, and I think touring, and I mean, you know this more than anybody. Something that bothers you a little bit, it's not a big deal. It's when it's all day, and it's that
Yeah,
little thing on the jacket that's rubbing you, or the helmet,
yep,
or it adds up quick.
yeah. Like I'll even put in earplugs occasionally.
Mhm.
Like well, since we're going, I can't find them. So luckily we're going to Daytona, but there's a guy there up at Rossmeyer's place. So don't everybody go there too. Um, but he injects
Mhm.
your ear canal, and then it's a soft silicone. And I tell you, those things are the best things ever. Because you put them in, it just blocks that ambient noise down, but they fit and they're comfortable all day long because
Yeah.
they're made for you. Like you can stick one of those foamies in, but you get that, like
Yeah.
but
And again, all day of that's going to drive you insane.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So there's all kinds of fun stuff
Awesome.
out
So
there.
as we wrap it up, I guess we've
Sure.
covered, but let's recap here, sir. So where can everybody
Whew.
find you? Anything you want to
Um,
leave it with?
I just I really thank everybody for watching our channels. I mean, that's it's
Yeah.
kind of, it blows my mind that people watch our stuff. I mean, it really does. Like that somebody took the time, or hey, it showed up on their feed and they watched your video, liked it, and subscribed. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, it's like, because let's face it, YouTube is an expensive hobby with very little return.
Well, yeah, and quite honestly, it's become a nasty place lately.
Yeah, they need to.
Angry.
Yeah, angry. You know, like I wish they'd get rid of the like and dislike buttons. Um, if you want to comment, take your, you know, you got to comment. Because don't I hate when people just dislike it just because they dislike it. I
Yeah.
just like, well, what did you dislike? Was it the sound? Was it the, you know, let me know. Give me some feedback. But I wish they'd just get rid of those.
I thought it
You
was
know,
weird too. I found out when I cracked 1,000 that you can now take away your sub count. I thought that was interesting because it's,
can you? I didn't
yeah,
notice
I
that.
found it the other day playing around. I'm like, that's kind of interesting because to your point, like, does it matter? You know what I mean?
Does it
Like,
matter?
it's not my
Well, it
full-time
matters when
gig.
you're talking to your friends, like, well, I got 1,400 now, or you know, and then you're like, but it does mean something for somebody that like a shade tree mechanic or a surgeon, you know, with over 100,000
Yeah.
subscribers, he makes a lot of money. You know, he gets promoted, he gets, you know, and so yeah, the sub count means things to businesses or
Oh, for businesses, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. But for us, it's like, who cares? I mean, I hit 1,000, I was like stoked. I was like, whoa, look at this. You know, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm at now.
Yeah. It's
Like
interesting when
14.
everyone says that it's like it's the rush to get there, and then after that, you're like, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I don't know
And
how it is for you, but I find that you do a video that you think is going to explode, and you put it out there, and it just dives. It just
yeah,
dies to death, and you're like, oh, that was fun.
yeah. That would be an interesting topic to bring up one day is how many videos, like I thought about this earlier, like how many videos you've done that you've actually never even put up.
Hmm.
I've done things where it's like, I once I put all together, I'm like, this just sucks. Or it's a direction I didn't want to take.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be a good topic for a video right there.
There you go. There it
You're
is.
welcome, everybody.
That's your next video coming when?
Yeah,
No.
coming when? Probably in about 3 months.
3 months. That's funny.
Yeah, I'm just glad I'm not you guys where you have to do like content all summer long and then store it up like a chipmunk and let it out every
Yeah,
week.
see, I didn't do that this year. Oh, well,
Yeah,
because this year really was the only serious year I had. I find myself some days just being like, you know what, there's just nothing there. See, so if I don't have a piece of gear to review, I don't review it. You know what I mean? It's just, it
yeah.
is what it is. I
Yeah,
know
it's like,
that
what
there's
can
a
I
lot
buy
of people
now?
that are very regimented, but some days it's like, eh.
Yeah, yeah. Bob, he has videos that still look like he's in the summertime. And
That
I saw a picture
Bodine.
from his house and is covered in snow with deer in the backyard. I'm like, but yeah, that's basically it. It's like I just really thank everybody that watches us. I mean, it. It gives you, you know, hope because that's one of the things I've been really trying to do with my channel is be a little bit more optimistic.
Mhm.
You know, there's so much negativity everywhere. You're surrounded with, you know, and not to say I'm not going to give a review that like has criticisms, but or a vlog that won't. But I tried, like I did one and I looked at it and I'm like, it was more of just me getting stuff off my chest.
Mhm.
And I watched it and I said, I'm glad I got that off my chest and deleted it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've tried to so far. I've not
yeah,
reviewed something that I hated. I'll review
yeah,
something that I don't, there may be quirks to it, but I just don't want to be the guy that's like trashing it for the sake of trashing it.
yeah. I'm not going to trash something if I, you know, if it's something I want or,
Yeah.
but I'll be honest about it. I mean, that's why like well, my 1 year review I did on the Goldwing, you know, I was just honest. There was
Yeah. And I
stuff on
thought
it
it was
that I
fair.
have. And it's like, I'm just trying to be fair. Like, this is what I believe. I bought this thing, you know, I spent my money on it.
Yeah.
Honda's not paying me. You know, if they want to send me a 2021, I'll take it.
I mean, I think that's fair. You should. I mean,
It's
you
totally fair.
review it.
I got, yeah, I got 1,400 subscribers. I mean, come on,
Yeah. It's the least they could do.
dude.
Wouldn't that's where I want to be. It's nice you get boots, you get gloves. I like that stuff. But you know what? If somebody wants to send me a free bike, that'd be cool. I don't even need to
Yeah,
keep
like,
it. Just give it to me for a
yeah,
couple months. Let me be.
yeah. It's like, oh, ride this for a couple months. Okay. Yeah, like,
Oh,
so.
Well, that'd be
That's
the
it's
dream.
yeah. Yeah, no, like you're like, how do these Revzilla guys get jobs? You're like, dang it, what did I do wrong?
When I used to work in cellular, my friends thought it was cool because I had a new phone every month, because the reps would give me new phones to play with. And now
Yeah,
you're like, man, that actually was pretty cool back in the day.
yeah. Now you're like, hey, I got the same phone for 2 years.
Yeah, now you're like, gotta look at it.
Yeah.
So where can everybody find you again on
No, sorry.
social? Just so we can make sure
Uh,
everybody make sure they subscribe, like it, give it a thumbs up, do all
yeah,
the stuff.
it's Petes1800, and then it's the same for YouTube and the same for Instagram. I do have Twitter, but I don't use that much. That's my political thing. So I don't do much on that anymore because I've kind of let that fall off because I used to have my high point about 3,000
Really?
followers on Twitter.
Okay.
I was very political.
I
I've turned the thing off.
couldn't. Twitter did nothing for me. I was always like, what am I supposed to say?
It was good back in 2008, 2012.
Yeah. Okay.
That's its high day.
Yeah.
I mean, Twitter's losing its relevance, just like Instagram loses relevance, just like Facebook is really losing people in droves because you're overlaying a personal view and not letting other people speak. So they'll move on, and something else will come out that's going to be better because remember, what's that one? MySpace?
Yeah.
Who? What? You ask a millennial, you ever heard of MySpace? They'll look at you like, huh?
Well, especially Instagram. I mean, Instagram in its day, and only a few years ago, it was all, photographers.
Yeah.
It
And then,
wasn't the whatever
yeah.
it's become,
And that's why I hate Facebook buying them.
Mhm.
And it was a more open platform
Sure.
a few years ago, but I still like it. It's actually my favorite platform besides YouTube because they host our stuff.
There you go. And where's your
uh,
channel again?
Yeah, Petes1800 and Bry the Biker. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe.
Ring the bell, because if you don't
Well,
ring the bell, you could miss the latest video.
yeah, I've never asked anybody to do that, and I never will.
I gave up and I just put the little slide on there because I'm like, I feel like such a chump. Yeah.
It's like, I'll put the graphic up, hey, subscribe and like,
Yeah.
because even if you watch larger channels, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
You've got to get people to hit the like and subscribe button because that's how you get views.
Yeah, I guess there's that part of me that still feels like it's like, I don't like doing that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But I'm like, I've gotten over it.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Well, I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, bet, Brian, it was great talking to you guys, and God bless you, and have a great night.
Thank you, sir. You too.
All right, man. Bye.